Whether you have some money left over in your Steam wallet, or you want to buy as many games as you can with your Steam gift card, we all want to get as many quality games as we can fit in our Steam libraries. Now, if you haven't seen our previous video on the best Steam games under $1, I recommend checking out that video because there will be some games listed on there that aren't on here. And with that being said, how's it going everyone? I'm Caleb from Cubewall Gaming, and here are our top 10 best Steam games that you can get right now for $1 or less. Starting the list out, Vojo is something that caught my eye when I was doing my research. This title specifically, I feel will apply to pretty much everyone here just due to the casual nature of the game. The premise is really simple. Your goal is to obviously avoid the various structures as you fall through the course, while also trying to collect as many white cube points as you possibly can. The colors, atmosphere, and music in the game create a really relaxing and chill game that you can hop into anytime you want. As your playthrough gets going, it can get pretty difficult when the screen starts rotating, but generally it's a pretty relaxed game, and I think that most everyone would be happy with purchasing. Blackout Z Slaughterhouse Edition is an extremely fast-paced and action-packed top-down shooter game where you kill zombies and try your best to avoid dying. The goal is to survive for as long as you can while focusing on picking up batteries and trying your best to get the highest score you can possibly get. It's a pretty basic concept, but I have to admit that I really enjoy the mindless slaughtering aspect of the game, where you can just enjoy the chaos and shoot in every direction. The game doesn't necessarily grant hours and hours of gameplay. Even the devs say that the game is best to just boot up while waiting for another game to load up or download, so just keep that in mind. The mechanics and overall gameplay is pretty solid, and if you like arcadey shooters that often warrant endless amounts of gore and chaos, then I really recommend checking out Blackout Z. Neon Omicron, or however you pronounce it, is a minimalistic puzzle game that has an extremely unique and colorful level design that has a spin on the puzzle gameplay by having the players rely on various light sources around them. Now, although this is a puzzle game, there are also enemies and hazardous elements that are added to the game that set it apart from other games that may be similar to this one. I gotta admit that the game is actually quite difficult, and depending on the type of person you are, you'll either enjoy the experience and feel rewarded from it, or you'll end up raging every time you play. Now, that shouldn't scare any of you away because, honestly, this game is great and I think it offers a lot of interesting gameplay elements for being $1. But just keep in mind that it can get pretty challenging at times. Overall, I recommend checking out the game. So, Orion is a bit of an interesting choice on this list, and it's a bit of a meme game, but I feel it may be interesting to some of you, and hey, why not just throw it in the list? I do want to first say that the game seems to have some sketchy stuff going on with reused assets and being re-released, but regardless, let's get into what the game is about. Orion is a futuristic / dinosaur / FPS shooter game that places you and others in an almost sandboxy type of gameplay where you need to survive the attacks from the dinosaurs. You can play as a dinosaur, and you can also play in a lot of different modes. You can play either PvE, PvP, or even PvPvE. Now, depending on the playlist that you select, you can play Conquest, Free-for-all, Elimination modes, Gun game modes, and a lot more. You can play with up to 5 or even 10 other players depending on the game mode you are playing in. The game, in terms of gameplay standards, is honestly pretty awful, but in a way it's meant to be that way. You will run into a whole lot of glitches and weird things while playing, but it's kind of a part of the game at this point. If you want a game to mess around in with friends and you have real low standards for gameplay, Orion can be a decent option to look into. Inertia is a first-person platforming game with inspiration from a lot of parkour and freerunner games. The game has a lot of focus on movement and timing based aspects and features over 48 developed levels to play. This game is one of my favorite games on this list just because of the fluid movement and general relaxed atmosphere that the game has. Plus, the game has a ton of levels that I haven't even scratched the surface of what the game has to offer. Considering you are only paying 99 cents for the game gives you a whole lot for the price. It also supports controller input, so if you're into that, you have that option too. If you're into platformers and the gameplay looks interesting to you, I highly recommend checking the game out. If you're a fan of some of the old-fashioned platforming games, you'll most likely be really interested in checking out Tori 2. The game is a 3D, low-poly platforming game that is heavily inspired by some of the older platforming games from the 90s that have paved the way for gaming. The gameplay is actually pretty fast and features 9 unique levels that all have hidden secrets and unlockables in each of them. The game is extremely short though, so it is important to keep that in mind. You can replay the game again because it does have a certain feel to it that kind of warrants being played through again, but it's important to keep in mind that the game probably has about an hour of gameplay. Overall though, that pretty much summarizes the game, but I love the game and you get a bit of a nostalgic feeling when playing through it. Borough F is a basic but fun racing game with various different maps and the ability to play co-op. I actually don't have all that much to say about this one because it's actually pretty straightforward. It's a racing game with 10 tracks and the ability to have anywhere from 1 to 99 rounds in any given game. You have easy to expert modes and the ability to play with one other player in offline co-op, and I believe even over Steam remote play, but I'm not 100% on that one. You also have over 12 different car colors and styles, and you can have up to 10 cars in any given match. That's pretty much a summary of the game. It's a lot of fun and the racing feels great, although I guess I wouldn't be the best person to determine that since I am terrible at racing games. Anyway, yeah, this is a great little racing game that I think is worth giving a try. When your mom tells you that you have Need for Speed at home, you get Need for Drive. So, Need for Drive is actually a mobile game ported over to PC, and aside from the obvious bootleg name, the game isn't all that bad. The graphics are pretty good considering the price of the game, and again, I am terrible at racing games, but from what I've played, I actually like the driving in this game. The game is also online multiplayer, so that's a huge plus, and if you've ever played Need for Speed, it's got a lot of those aspects to it. You do various races with different cars, you avoid cops, you try and beat your own score, all that good stuff. I will say that the game kind of disappoints in that a lot of stuff is behind a paywall, but it was a mobile game at some point. Overall, it's not a bad game, but it's also not a great game. Regardless, I do recommend checking it out. Now, I really did try to not add any repeats in this list, but come on, it's Bean Battles. If you end up watching part 1 in this list, which I recommend watching and I'll link it in the description, Bean Battles was mentioned and I just had to add it to this list too. This game has been such a huge part of our community and shows up countless times in our videos, and for good reason. The game is technically a battle royale, but it feels more like a team deathmatch style game. Essentially, you play as beans and your goal is to avoid the closing circle and kill all the other beans to come out on top as the winner. Honestly, this game is so much fun and I sweat so hard in this game. Everyone that plays this game automatically becomes tryhard because it's just got that competitive nature to it. I love this game and it's a very important game to the Cubo gaming crew and our community. So honestly, if for all else, I recommend getting Bean Battles. Peekaboo Lite is a less expensive and slightly more content restricted version of the Peekaboo Full game, but offers the same fun gameplay and playstyle. The game is a cross-platform hide-and-seek online game that divides the players into 2 separate teams. One team being the props, in which you'll want to transform into various props around the map to blend in, and the other team being the hunters, where your job is to kill the players disguised as props before the timer ends. If you've ever played Prop Hunt in Gmod, or honestly a lot of other games, this game is dedicated to that game mode and it does it really well actually. I've played and streamed the full version of Peekaboo and I really like the game. I will say that getting this with friends makes the experience 10 times better, so I really recommend trying to get some others to get the game with you, but if not, you should be able to find some other lobbies online to join into. The game is a ton of fun and it can become really addictive, so overall I recommend checking out Peekaboo Lite. Alright, well that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out part 1 of this video, which will be linked down below. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video.